Now I'm going to share with you my essential chocolate tips. Now I get asked so many questions about how to store chocolate, how should I melt it, where should I store it, should it be wrapped up when it's stored, should I keep it in the fridge or at room temperature? Now I'm going to resolve all those questions you have with some simple tips. One thing you may not know is that chocolate is affected by light. So if the chocolate is in clear packaging, it's going to deteriorate the state of the chocolate. So always ensure that it's wrapped in opaque packaging. So I've got a block here. I'm going to wrap it in some foil, or it's a good idea to keep it in the original packaging, which is normally opaque. Now this takes me on to my next tip, which is to ensure that the chocolate is sealed completely so it doesn't absorb any moisture or humidity from the atmosphere. Chocolate has quite a bit of sugar in it, so by nature it will actually pull any moisture in the air and it'll absorb it into the chocolate. The problem with that is when we go to melt it, the chocolate will be really quite thick and viscous. So always keep it well sealed. Now this is an eating bar of chocolate, this is a cashew nut bar, but you need to do exactly the same if you've got chocolate that you're cooking with as well, because both will be affected by moisture. Now if you live in a humid climate, I would not only wrap and seal the chocolate in foil, but I would also seal it in some plastic wrap to ensure that it's not going to absorb any moisture at all from the atmosphere. And remember, regardless of if you're cooking with the chocolate or eating it, always make sure it's well sealed. Now, if you're like my father-in-law, much to my disgust, he stores his chocolate in the fridge, which I don't agree with at all. This is what can happen if you store your chocolate in the fridge, is you get what we call sugar bloom. So I don't know if you can see it there, but what happens is when we bring the chocolate out of the fridge, because it's really cold and we bring it into a warm atmosphere, we get condensation on the surface, which dissolves the sugar, and the sugar reforms in a larger crystal. So not only is it visible to the eye, but it can be quite gritty and grainy to eat. The only time you would store chocolate in the fridge is if it's really well sealed and your room temperature is hot, but you need to let it come back to room temperature completely before removing the packaging. When you're storing your chocolate, it's really essential that you don't store it next to anything that has a strong aroma. And that's quite a few things, your garlic, your onions, particularly spices. Chocolate will absorb all of those aromas, and next time you make something, it may have an aroma of garlic, onion, or a spice that you've stored it next to. So keep it well sealed, and a lot of people actually store it in the cellar or where they store their wine, because there's generally no other aromas in that area. The next thing you want to avoid is changes in temperature where you're storing your chocolate. So you can see here, this is what we call fat bloom. This is where we have fluctuation of temperature. All the chocolate is stored at a high temperature. This could also be caused if the chocolate is not tempered when it's poured into a mold or into a tray, and then we get migration of the cocoa butter, which is what you see here, which separates from the chocolate and sets on the surface. So to avoid this happening, it's important that you keep a constant temperature with your chocolate, and also that you temper it correctly. But it just shows you as well, if you have a look, even right through here, when we haven't tempered correctly or we've got fat bloom, the chocolate becomes really crumbly and very, very gritty to eat. So to avoid this happening, keep a constant temperature, and you want the temperature to be under 23 degrees Celsius, but you don't want to go from 15 degrees to 23, from 15 to 23, because then you will get some movement in the cocoa butter. If you're using chocolate that contains vegetable fat, you don't have to temper it. You can sometimes still have a bloom, but it's unlikely. But in my opinion, it's not great to eat. You're going to be disappointed when you eat it. So always try to use and source chocolate that contains cocoa butter. Great to taste and much better for your health. We melt chocolate for many different applications. Never melt chocolate in a glass bowl, because glass tends to retain the heat and it gets really quite hot, and it can make the chocolate too hot. What I'm going to do is place the chocolate into a plastic bowl. We always heat in plastic, which stays at an ambient temperature. Now some people, when they're melting white chocolate or sometimes milk chocolate, particularly in the microwave, find that the chocolate tends to thicken. Generally means that you've overheated the chocolate a little bit, or the package of chocolate may have been open and the chocolate's absorbed moisture. If it's a fresh pack of chocolate and it's in date, it should be quite liquid when you melt it. Never melt it for longer than 30 seconds at a time in the microwave, and always stir it in between. With milk chocolate and with white chocolate, we've got milk protein in there with the milk powder, and we can have a browning of those milk proteins, which is called a Maillard reaction, which can actually thicken the chocolate. It very rarely happens with dark chocolate, but you can overheat it. We're looking at approximately a maximum of 60 to 65 degrees Celsius for dark chocolate and a maximum of 50 to 55 degrees Celsius for milk and white. I'm going to show you quickly how you can melt it. If you don't have a microwave, I would recommend using a paint stripper gun, which I'm going to show you as well. So every 30 seconds, we give the chocolate a quick stir. Now, if I was tempering this, I would only melt it till it's half liquid, half solid chocolate, and then vigorously stir it. We do have a great video on tempering, which goes right in depth into the how and why we temper. If I'm melting it to incorporate it into a recipe, so it doesn't need to be tempered, I would keep going until it's quite warm, particularly if I'm putting it with some cold cream for a mousse. So we're not quite halfway melted, half solid chocolate. I'm going to put it in for another 20 seconds or so and give it a stir. Now, if I was to temper, this needs a little bit more heat to take it to half liquid, half solid chocolate. Now, an alternative to using the microwave is to actually melt the chocolate with what we call a paint stripper gun or a heat gun. You can buy these from the hardware store. They're usually in the paint department. If you haven't got one of these, you can use a hairdryer. The hairdryer though will take a lot longer. Always be mindful though when you use this, the end of the gun gets really quite hot. When you're using the heat gun, always ensure that you're stirring at the same time, otherwise you'll tend to burn the chocolate. You can see this is a quick and efficient way of also melting the chocolate. Now, if you have any leftover chocolate from what you're creating, you can simply pour the chocolate out onto some baking paper, then wrap it tightly to seal it, and then it's ready to use for the next time you're creating something with chocolate. Now, I believe whether you're using white, milk, or dark chocolate, you can pair those chocolates, if it's a good quality chocolate, with many, many flavors. So how do you know what flavors go with what type of chocolate? There is no real set rule. I think it's more based on application. So for example, if I was going to pair a red wine with chocolate, I would probably make a ganache. When we're working with wines and champagnes, we always reduce the wine and champagne down to 1/3 of its original weight before creating a ganache, and then you get a really nice subtle flavor, but you'll still be able to taste the chocolate. When I'm working with fruits, I often do a fruit in a jelly, and then I might make a ganache or a chocolate mousse with the chocolate. And once again, I think you can pair that with white, milk, and dark. It's really dependent upon how strong you want the flavor. I believe when you're pairing chocolate with other flavors, you should always be able to taste both. So you don't want the flavor, like chili for example, to dominate the chocolate flavor, and you also don't want the flavor you're adding to be so subtle that all you can taste is chocolate. So it's finding that balance, which I think is important. Now, the shelf life of your chocolate will always be dictated on the packaging itself as to how long you've got before you have to use it. Keep in mind that white and milk chocolate have more sugar, so they're more prone to absorb moisture from the atmosphere, and the chocolate will tend to thicken if you're opening and closing the package regularly. Dark chocolate for me lasts a very, very long time, as long as it's sealed, well beyond the use by date. And that's because whether you're using white milk or dark chocolate, none of them contain any moisture or water. So there is very little bacteria growth. The biggest problem we have with chocolate and storing it with shelf life is that we tend to lose the flavor. So the intensity of chocolate flavor if you stored it for long periods of time, particularly if you leave the packaging open for long periods of time as well. The other problem, as I mentioned, is also the chocolate will absorb moisture. So if you store it for a long time, particularly if you're keeping it open, it will become very, very thick for you to work with. You can combat that if the chocolate does become thick by adding some additional cocoa butter to actually thin it out, or I use that chocolate if it has thickened in recipes for baking. So I melt it with butter or something like that as the recipe suggests, and then it's much easier to apply for a recipe. Or it also creates great chocolate chips for cookies. Now, when you're buying chocolate, I highly recommend that you look at the ingredients panel on the chocolate to ensure that it stipulates that it's created from cocoa butter and not vegetable fats. Vegetable fats is usually a palm oil that they've used in the chocolate. Quite often they add hydrogen to the palm oil to make it a solid, and it's very hard for our bodies to process, therefore it's bad for our health. Where we're working with chocolate that does contain cocoa butter, we do have to temper it if we're wanting to set it on its own. But if we're mixing the chocolate with other ingredients, you don't have to temper it, but you'll thank me because the flavor and mouthfeel you'll get from a chocolate that contains cocoa butter is far superior from one that contains vegetable fat. Now, you've just heard my essential go-to chocolate tips. Please leave a comment and tell me if you found these tips helpful and what else you'd like to see. If you enjoyed that episode, you will love my channel. Subscribe today for even more tutorials on chocolate and baking. Best of all, it's free, so get on it.